Hey, what's up everybody? It's Victor over here at the Fish Room. Welcome back to another Tankful Thursday. This week I'm going to give you guys a demo on how I make my fish bowls. I actually got a chance to get in the shop, got 3 different cameras in there with some different angles of the whole process of how I actually make these guys. So I'm going to show you guys how I make this kind of fish bowl, the slightly taller ones. It's pretty much exactly this shape, except for I put a wrap around it. Unfortunately, that exact bowl did not survive. The bottom of it cracked at the very end when I was about to break it off to put it away. You'll see that in the video, but this is pretty much what the end product would have looked like. It was about the same height, the same width and everything. You can kind of see the size difference from the one that I made during the time-lapse video and the fish bowl that I currently have that you guys have seen before. So this one is definitely taller. I want to say it is 3 to 3.5 gallons. I gotta measure it. I don't know for sure yet, but it's really good. It's pretty good size. So let me know if you guys have any questions. It's a very long process. It's very complicated. I've been blowing glass for about 9 years. I started at Salisbury University. I actually got a bachelor's in fine arts, concentrated in glass blowing, and I work as an artist and a programmer, and I love fish, and I keep a lot of fish. So hopefully I'm trying to get this stuff started with the aquariums, selling custom aquariums and selling fully made custom aquariums that already have the fish that you want in them. So that's kind of where I'm kind of taking this direction of my glass blowing and my fish hobby, kind of joining the two and trying to make something out of it. So let me know if you guys have any questions. If you're interested in any of the fish bowls, let me know, and I'll also leave a link to my Facebook and my website if you guys want to contact me for any of the information about the fish bowls or getting any of them. So no more waiting, let's get to the glass shop because it's a long demo, so stay tuned. So for those of you who have never seen glass blowing, we use the exact same tools that they did back in the day. The only thing that's really changed is the material that we make the tools out of, and that we use natural gas and coil heaters to heat up our equipment, while back in the day it was wood and other stuff. So to start off the piece, I dip my pipe into the furnace and I gather a little bit of glass on it. I keep on turning, otherwise the glass will fall off. Once I actually have the glass on there, I'll roll it out, smooth it out, let it kind of settle down a little bit, and then I'll trap air in there. By trapping the air in there, the bubble is superheating that air and is causing it to expand, creating an air bubble inside of my bubble. Now I just gotta smoothen it out, and then I can get some more glass on it. The tool I'm using here is called the jacks. We use them to shape the glass and to cool down specific areas on the glass's surface. Right here, I'm creating a nice hard edge and also cooling it down so I can put more glass over it. Once I've actually gotten more glass on there, the glass is about 2100 degrees Fahrenheit when it comes out of the furnace. I have to let it cool down because it is really crazy right now. What I'm going to do is use a cherry wood block and make the piece more symmetrical. That way when I start blowing it out and making it bigger, it's more uniform. I don't want a crazy chunk going out the side. We use cherry wood because it burns at a much higher temperature than other wood. We also cover in water. We soak the block in water so that way it doesn't burn the wood as fast. Now that I've got a nice symmetrical shape, put some more heat on it, I'm going to blow it out. I want to get it a little bit bigger, that way I don't lose my bubble, but I don't want to get it too big because I am going to put more glass over this thing. So right now I'm just making sure the bubble fills out that space a little bit better, and then I'm going to let it cool down and put more glass over top of this thing. I make really funny faces with the paper because that smoke goes right in your face. Seriously, you can't even breathe. It's getting all over your eyes and you start crying. Yeah, it's crazy. What we're using is just regular newspaper. We fold about 12 sheets of it, soak it in water. My friend Phil right here is adding more water to it. It creates a layer of steam and it helps not burn the paper. Now I'm just gonna go in for my last gather. This is the final amount of glass I'm gonna use on the piece. So I waited till the piece was really cold. That way I have a really cold core and that bubble doesn't completely collapse on me. Now I'm going to use the cherry wood block again, and I'm going to make sure it's symmetrical. This is, you know, the final piece. The whole time you have to make sure that everything's symmetrical, because otherwise you're gonna have like a wonky bubble with the perfect outside and it's gonna blow out weird. So it's really important to maintain everything symmetrical throughout the whole process. So at this point in the process, all I'm doing is really just putting heat in the piece. I need to get it nice and hot because we're about to blow it out. I'm about to call my friend Phil. He's gonna come running, and then I'm gonna be shaping the piece while he's giving me air. What that's gonna do is that's gonna allow me to cool down and restrict the bottom from expanding because it's the hottest part right now, and it's gonna allow the top to expand. The glass likes to take the path of least resistance, so whatever's the hottest and doesn't have anything compressing it is gonna be what blows out. So that's kind of the logic behind what we're using right here. As you can see, Phil needs to be constantly adding water to the paper because it's burning. It needs to be wet the whole time, but you can't have too much water, otherwise it becomes really hot. So I'm just literally blowing it out. During this thing, you're not going to see too many heats in the glory hole. The glory hole is the piece of equipment that you see that's glowing orange in the middle of the screen. That's what we use to heat up the piece. You spend a lot of time putting the piece in there. You'll see a few moments of it, but I try to cut it out because it would be a very long video if I showed you every single heat. So right now, you know, I'm going down the piece with the paper, and I'm having Phil blow. I'm really trying to get some size into this thing, and now I'm using the jacks to put a constriction at the top of the piece. That way I can actually break this thing off. You know, I have to be able to knock this piece off of the pipe later, and if I just have straight glass, you know, it's gonna be a lot harder to actually get a nice clean cut. So I'm putting a restriction that allows me to break this piece off of the pipe a lot cleaner. It'll be a nice clean line if I do it right. Alright, so now that this restriction is in, that top 2/3 of the piece is pretty much done. I can't really reheat that top part of the piece, otherwise it becomes really hard to control the glass. So right now I'm really just working on the bottom 2/3 of this piece. I don't want to blow out the piece too wide, and I also don't want to blow out the bottom. You need a really thick bottom in order to have a good piece, especially, you know, in an aquarium. The hole you're about to see is the restriction on width that I'm currently restricted for this piece because we're using this glory hole. We do have another glory hole, but we're currently not using it because we're giving demos. So I'm trying to really hold the paper on the bottom of the piece and the side and really kind of juggle. It's really hard to judge at this point. It takes a lot of experience to be able to blow these things out right. So this is where I went a little wrong with this piece. I should have added a little bit of glass at the bottom, so when I added the punny, which you'll see later, it wouldn't have broken. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the jacks to push down the bottom, really shape that bottom edge, and I'm using a cherry wood paddle to make the bottom of the piece flat. That way when it sits, it can actually sit properly. And I'm using both at the same time so I get a really nice hard edge. It looks a lot cleaner than kind of a weird curved edge of a wall. So I'm making sure that the bottom is nice and flat while Phil is turning for me. Outside the bench I can get a lot more leverage with this big piece. That's why I'm doing it that way. Now Phil is making what is called the punny. It's going to be a bridge that we're going to use to get the piece off of the blowpipe so I can work on the mouth of the piece. So what he's going to do is he's going to connect it. I trust him with it, so I'm having him do it because I can't reach around it and put it on center, and I know he can do a good job. So here goes Phil. He hits it right on center and then hands me the tweezers, and I'm making sure that it's on center, and it is. Now I get a little bit of water. I put it right on that constriction that I made earlier, and now I'm going to get ready to hit my pipe and it's gonna break. Now he's gonna put the piece and heat the very lip of it so nothing breaks. And this is a really crucial point in the whole process. Now that I've got a little bit of heat onto my lip, Phil's gonna use a little tool called a Sophietta while I use the paper. The Soffietta allows him to blow air and expand the top part of the piece, and I'm using the paper so that I can make sure it does it evenly. Then I'm going to use the jacks and the paddle to open up the lip of the piece nice and evenly, and Phil's turning for me so I can get outside the bench and get more leverage because it's a bigger piece. It helps a lot to have a person helping you out. It becomes a lot harder to do it by yourself with bigger pieces, especially for things like this. Phil is bringing me a wrap. I'm gonna put it, touch it on that part, and then start spinning the piece away from me while I drag the wrap out. It's going to create a nice symmetrical wrap that goes from where I connected it all the way to the top of the piece until I wrap it out. Then all I got to do is reopen the piece. I did the wrap beforehand because I wanted the very top of the wrap to melt into the piece. Now it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see what this looked like, but it's a very cool experiment. So what I'm doing right now is I'm really trying to shape and open up that top. Phil is really turning it and really helping me out by keeping a symmetrical turn while I apply a lot of pressure to try to open up the top. I put the jacks just to make sure that it's even on the outside, and now I'm just kind of doing my final last touch-ups on that lip. Once I do that, I just have to heat the bottom of the piece and even out and make sure everything's balanced out. I can't have the top of the piece be too hot and the bottom be cold, otherwise it'll break. That's actually what ended up happening in this piece, which sucks, and why I'm not able to show you guys. The bottom of the piece was too thin and the connection was too wide, and it was just too cold when I did it. I put water. This is what we do. We put water on here. It really shocks that connection, and it allows us to knock off the piece off of that literally fused glass. I use a paddle and it sends a shock throughout the pipe and it comes off. Now unfortunately it cracked the bottom. Now we do recycle this glass, so we will get to reuse it and we put it in the trash can so it doesn't explode everywhere. When we have the other glory hole, I'll do a demo about one of the bigger, wider pieces. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions or comments about the demo, just let me know, leave it in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. I'll put out another video and actually show you guys a little bit more of what I've been making, and of course get back to the fish because it's 2 weeks now concentrating on glass and a lot of stuff is happening here. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.